Hello viewers, this is your host Sushil and I'm here with my next video. In this video we are going to learn how to use the subtotal function in Excel. So basically if we go to data tab and choose the sum total function, here it is. The sum total function calculates various operations over the rows and returns the subtotals and the totals. Let us get on to how do we use the sum totals and why should we use the sum totals. So in case like simple formulas like sum, average, etc. can be used and found out many things in Excel. Then why do we require the sum total? Let me give you a demo here. I'm going to use the formula here of AutoSum, and in this AutoSum you see the addition of this branch count turns out to be 281. But if in case I choose to hide a few of them, even then sum remains 281. That means it does not take into consideration the hidden ones, that non-active cells, and it keeps on calculating values as is where is. Whereas in sum total or subtotal, it is very well taken care of. Now let me tell you, subtotal is a function which can be used as an individual function or as a nested function. It takes care of many sub-functions while doing the subtotal, like what we'll see in our course or in this video. So now let me start with the subtotal. There are two ways of using this function, of which I am demonstrating you the first way. Here it is in this drop down. When I say subtotal and open the parenthesis, drop down appears on the screen and one can see that there are various functions here: average, count, count A, max, mean, product, standard deviation, sample, standard deviation, production, sum, standard variance, or rather the variance in sample and variance in production. So these are the 11 functions numbered as 1 to 11. Let me tell you that these functions take care of the or take into consideration the hidden cells as well. Whereas in the drop down we see the further functions numbered from 101 to 111. These are all repetition of the earlier 11 functions, and these do not take into consideration the hidden cells. Now let me take as example the count function here. I can double click it or I can choose to write or type 2 and give a comma there. There it is. So I double click it, I give comma. After that it asks for references 1, reference 2 and so on and so forth. So viewers, take into consideration that in Excel in subtotal function there are maximum up to 254 references that the user can choose. So now I'm going to choose the references from E3 cell to E17 cell, and there it is. I am choosing it right away. Once done, I close the parenthesis and I say enter. As soon as I enter, it gives me the count of 15. That is the sum total of the branch counts. Fine. So this is how one can choose to have the sum total count of the branch counts, those that are from here to here, and it is quite simple that the count has been 15, so it has given a return a correct value. So friends, this is how one can use the sum total or subtotal function in one way. Let me give you a demo as to how it can be used here in conjunction with some other function. Let me insert a serial number here. Now if you see, there are entry numbers here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on and so forth up to 15. But these are entry numbers. If I choose to sort this database, for example, as per the requirements of the stage, it will certainly change. The serial number and the entry number will not match. Let me give you a demo here. So here I am going to use the function subtotal in conjunction with the function count A. So I'm going to use count A here. I give the comma. I choose the entry number here. So count A, let me give you a intro to count A. Count A is a function which counts a cell which is non-empty. So I'm going to choose a cell here which is non-empty, C3. I'm going to say or give the range as C3 again, and in this case in the first selection I'm going to use function F4 that will lock the cell as $C$3, and then with the range as C3 I'm going to close parenthesis and say enter. So friends, what I've done here is I've chosen the subtotal function, the count A as a sub function, and I have chosen the cell $C, $3, that is the first one in the range, and I have given the range as C3. But while doing that, the first part of the range I have frozen and the remaining part I have kept open. So once done, I get the count as 1, that is the first count. I am going to pull down this formula for the subsequent cells, and there it is. As you see, the serial numbers have come into picture as it goes on counting the non-empty cells in the range of the entry cells here. Once done, now I can select the serial numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to give you a demo. I'm going to give you a demo as to how it turns handy. Now I'm going to apply filter. In this filter, I'm going to sort the states from A to Z, and as soon as I sort them, you can see the entry number has remained or been retained along with the state, but well, the serial number has not changed here. So in this way, one can choose serial number in a subtotal function by using a subtotal function and then apply it. Let me give you a demo now of how to use or how to create subtotal by another method. So if you go to data tab and go to subtotal function, there it is. It chooses the range or it chooses a database to apply the subtotal. In this subtotal, the first thing is at each change in. So each change in our case, I'm going to choose the state as each change in. So at every change of the state, I want a subtotal. So for example, when the Goa state changes to Karnataka in the database, I need to have the subtotal of Goa. And in this subtotal, what function do I need to take? As seen or as spoken earlier, there are 11 functions to opt from, of which I'm going to choose the count function now. Let me say, or let me choose to have average function now. So I'm going to choose this average function, and which all columns do I need to add into subtotal. Now I'm going to add the branch total or the branch count and the corpus columns as they are. Okay, let me say okay. When I do that, there it is. The subtotals are available state-wise. The Goa average is here, the Karnataka average is here, and the Maharashtra average is here. So now, as you see, the serial number has remained constant, and if at all one is interested in retrieving the serial number when this is printed, it is very handy to use the serial number in this way. So this is one of the applications of the subtotal that I have shown you, and as we proceed, let me give you furthermore information on this subtotal function. So by default, subtotal function has created the groups here. If I choose the group number 3 or the lowermost or the most wide group, it gives me all the details. In case if I'm not interested in revealing all these details in a presentation or in a report, I can choose to have the level 2, which gives me the average of every state along with the grand average here. And once I can once if I require to only demo this is handy for me. By using the subtotal function, I can choose it. At level 1, it will give me only the grand total or the grand average. So if at all I choose number 3 here and see the things here, well, you see the total of every state appears at the bottom. Now, if I choose or if I wish to have it at top, how do I do that? I'll go back to subtotal function, and in this there are three options here at the bottom, of which summary below data is what I'm going to unclick and say okay. Once I do that, the summary goes on to top. So the grand average goes on the top, next comes the Goa average, and then the details of that state. Then the next state, that is Karnataka average, and then the details of that state. If you see, the serial number still continues to go hand in hand with the row number, whereas the entry number changes or remains along with the state or the city. Now, friends, if you see, this Karnataka average is 16.6, is 19.66, and Goa average is 20, whereas the total average is 18.73 something something. Okay, this is how one can choose either to have the titles of the averages or the sum total below or above. Now, what were the remaining two functions? Let us go on to those and have a look at that also. So, the remaining two function was replace current subtotal and page break between groups. So now I'm going to choose the first one, replace current subtotals. Let me explain you what it is. So let us go on to another function here. We already have the averages there, and in case if I wish to have a count there, let me choose count, and count of all these four options, which we have already chosen here. I retain those, and now if I choose to retain this replace current subtotals, what will happen? The earlier values of the state averages will be replaced by the state counts, which is not what I'm intending. I want to see the state count or sum or state count as well as the state average. So I'm going to remove this click option of toggle, and replace current subtotals has been removed now. So now I should be able to see both the required values. So there it is. So the count has come up. The Goa count here turns out to be 4. So there are 4 counts of this branch counts. Then there are 4 counts of the corpuses, and there it is. So here are the counts. In case if I choose to have one more function, say in case if I wish to see the sum also, I can go over here and I can say sum, and I have not clicked this, so replace current subtotals. There won't be any replacements, there will be only addition, and there it is. The addition of the Goa total or the state total has come up as and what was required. So this is how one can keep on adding or removing the requirements and retain the required data as and what is required. So now while I say remove all, it is going to remove everything. Let me remove everything, and that is the beauty of subtotal. Once you say remove all, it retains the database intact as it was without impacting any of the details in the database. Now let me explain you furthermore applications of subtotal. As I already explained you, let me brief you in between. So there are 254 references that can be given into a subtotal function. Subtotal function can be applied in the two ways. I have given you demonstration of both the ways. Subtotal function can be used as an individual function or a nested function with some other functions as well. Now, I need to explain you how in the drop down there were two sets of the 11 options of the functions. So let me go ahead and here let me hide a couple of values here. So for example, if I decide to hide the value of Maharashtra Mumbai, that is serial number 11, I'm going to hide it, and as soon as I hide it, the serial number 11 here vanishes. And now if I choose to use the value here, if I'm going to I'll use this cell and I'll say subtotal. Now I want to make an average. So if I choose to make an average, or shall I go as per the state, it's better if we go for the complete count. It will be easy for me to explain you what is the difference between this 11 and the next 11. So let me say average, double click on that, I say comma, and I choose this references. So the references now are chosen from E3 to E17. I close the parenthesis and I say enter. Now you see the value here appears at 18.733. Now I'm going to use the same function again here, subtotal. But while doing that, I'm going to choose the drop down average as 101 from here. That was the next option of average. So let me click it, say comma. Again, I'm going to choose the same range here. And once done, I'm going to say enter. With this entering of the subtotal function, one can see the value here of the average turns out to be 17.57. So this is something that is very much not logical or acceptable to human mind, that for the same range of cells, for the same values of the branch counts, how does the average keeps on changing in this way. So let us see how or why this has happened. Let me explain you. Now in the first case, when we chose this drop down as average function, that was number one function, what happened was it has considered all the cells which are not visible or which are hidden in this situation. And as we have already hidden row number 11 or serial number 11, it has considered serial number 11 also into the calculations. So subtotal, when chosen from the function 1, function 11 in the drop down, does not ignore the hidden cells. It considers the hidden cells also. Whereas in the next case where we chose function number 101, that was average, In this case, when 101 was selected, it took care of only the visible cells and the hidden cell was not seen. So in case now, let me give you a demo here why and what happened. So if you keep watch on this cell, it will be easy to understand what happened. So now I'm going to do a unhide activity here. So I'm going to unhide it, and as soon as I unhide it, you see the 101 function that we had chosen now has taken care of the cell here, that was cell F13, and in this F13 cell there was value 35, and as an average it turned out to 18.7. So friends, do take care this into consideration that whenever you are choosing the functions from the drop down, the first 10 or first 11 functions are going to take care of the hidden cells as well. Fine. So when you practice this in your applications, to take this into consideration. This is a note of caution to all of you. Now let me give you a demonstration of how the subtotal function can also be used as a nested function. Now I'm going to choose this value as. So now in case if the management of this bank or this institution wants to take a decision as to if they are doing good in the branch count calculations or still they need to increase the branch count. So suppose if at all they had a target of say 17 branches or say 20 branches. So in case now let me apply this again the subtotal function here for the database state. Okay, some, let me say average, and say replace current summary below data and say okay, there it is. Now the summary is there. Now if I want to choose this, that if at all there was target for Goa city or Goa state to have a branch count of say 15, and they have turned out to be 20. So in case now if I want to use the if formula here, if I'm going to use it here, I'll put it here. So I say if the subtotal, I'm now going to use the subtotal as a nested function. Subtotal here, average, I'm going to use average of say references. Here are the references. I say close parenthesis. Now I'll have to put the true value in case the management wants it to check if the given value is less than 20, then they are okay. So if at all now the true value has to be, this function has to be, or this cell has to be less than 20, then what? Then the true is value if false, value if true, and value if true. The logical test is, sorry, let me revise this function. So the subtotal, the logical test is less than 20, then return the text as accepted. Else if it is false, one has to put the value for the false value, accepted, else the false value will be revised. So this is what will happen. I'm going to close the parenthesis, and as soon as I close the parenthesis and say enter, there it is. So now it is going to check if the average branch count of this is less than 20, then it is acceptable, or if it's not less than 20, then they will have to revise the branch count, and either they will have to close few branches or improve the productivity of the branches and reduce the branch count. So this is how a management can take a decision. So I have given a demo here of if function with nested subtotal function. This is how one can use it. In case suppose now if the values of these branches, they have reduced the branch count, say here they have reduced to 15, the value here changes to 19.5 for Goa and it becomes acceptable. So in this way, one can use Excel, the subtotal function and other functions nested with subtotal to make decisions on how and what can be made feasible, practical and acceptable in their decisions. Fine. So friends, this is what I had to tell you in this video. I hope this has been a useful video for you for understanding the subtotal. A few of the examples I have given you demonstration here as to how to apply the subtotal, and there are many more which I am sure you will practice, and practice makes man perfect. If you feel this video has been of use to you, please do express your thumbs up or your likes at the YouTube channel. Do share this video to other friends of yours who shall make the best use of this. And in case if you are not subscribed this channel, please do subscribe the channel. I will be back again with my next video with lot of interesting topics for you to watch, to learn and to apply. Till then, bye bye.